team and the English language communication group, I extend a very warm welcome to Mr. Rajesh Kodukula, who has very gracefully accepted to be our speaker for today, and he's talking about technical writing. He has around 12 years of experience in mechanical and manufacturing industry. Mr. Rajesh Kodukula is a trained engineer from National Institute of Technology, Surathkal in Karnataka, after which his work took him to various sectors such as oil and gas. He also worked in the aerospace sector with Rolls-Royce. He's currently working with Log9, a company called Log9, which is doing very innovative work. They're making sustainable energy storage solutions, basically batteries for electrical vehicles. In his free time, Mr. Rajesh Kodukula loves to blog. He mentors young entrepreneurs, and he also mentors people who love chess. So that's another, of his hobbies. So there's a whole array of interests that our speaker has. And this webinar, I'm sure, would be a very enriching experience for all of you as he talks about technical writing. So Mr. Kodukula would talk about the writing, and after that, we would open the forum for all teachers and mentors who are present here and the students to ask their questions. So I give it to you, Mr. Kodukula.
Thank you, Rashmiji. I'll just start sharing my screen. Let me know once you're able to see the screen.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, nice. So yeah, good evening, everyone. I mean, while you might be looking forward to actually getting some input from my side, I am more than overwhelmed to actually get this opportunity. It's been a long time since I've had so many students with me in a room. I think the last time, whenever it was, I was a student. So I hope I do justice to the next 45 to 50 minutes. The intent is actually not to overwhelm you. I mean, I'll keep a mix of both Hindi and English so that I address if there is any gap. मैं किसी को डराना नहीं चाहता कि इंडस्ट्री में जाने के बाद में चीजें कितनी मुश्किल हो जाएंगी, पर हम जितने जल्दी ये जान जाए कि क्या एक्सपेक्टेशन होती है इंडस्ट्री में, हमें उतना समय मिल जाएगा सीखने के लिए. सो मेरी कोशिश यही रहेगी कि सिर्फ ये एक सेशन नहीं, इसके बाद भी अगर students especially who are interested can be in touch so that we are able to groom them and expose them to this aspect of technical writing. So what the subtitle, what you can see here is effectively communicate subject knowledge using language skills. So अभी जो इंग्लिश क्लासेस में मंजुला जी, सोनाली जी, रश्मि जी से आप सीख रहे हो, that is the foundation for any kind of language exploration that would happen in the field of English. One of the subset of it is when you have to communicate subject knowledge with someone, and that is where we need to basically enhance our skills and be in a position so that the intended outcome is met. So the technical writing comes into picture when you want to express or communicate the subject knowledge that you have to the set of intended users. So as part of this session, I've tried to compress a lot of details. I know there is a lot to it, and whenever there is the right opportunity, we'll maybe get into details of it. But as of now, I will maybe give a glimpse of what technical writing exactly is, dive into the process of technical writing, the importance of having a writing style depending on who the audience is, and some tools that are already available with respect to formatting and developing a design for your technical documents, and a few examples so that just to give you a gist of while there is no right and wrong, different people would express the content in different way, but there is surely a more effective way of putting across what we want to. So the more we practice, the better we get at that skill. So just to set the context, I mean, let's take an example of Legos. So आप लोगों ने Lego के साथ खेला तो होगा. We buy it by looking at the picture or the end outcome. So somebody says, okay, this is what you can make by taking these pieces of Lego. And when you open the box, you will have various pieces in different color, different sizes that can fit into one another. But the most important piece of information that will help us to reach this goal is the manual that is there with the Lego. So here in the manual, the product designer or the product owner is actually trying to communicate the sequence of things that need to be done so that the end outcome is achieved. So the biggest responsibility of the person who actually designed this Lego game is to write this manual so that anyone who picks up this particular piece of board game should be able to achieve the end outcome. And that is when the user will get the sense of achievement and would become a returning customer. Of course, in case of Lego product, you would have more visual examples along with some text around the do's and don'ts and maybe some prompts on how to use it. So it is a mix of both visual and textual content. But depending on the field you are in and depending on the information that you want to communicate, you would have to use the language in a more elaborate way and with the help of certain visual aids. So I don't know if the slide has moved. It's gone. Okay, right. So why is it that technical writing is important? So see, one of the crucial aspects in many industries, depending on whatever profession you are into, whether it is engineering, computer science, healthcare, finance, and even legal, trust me, technical writing is a most expected thing from the people, and that would become a part of your day job. So the expectation is that whoever is involved in doing the technical writing should be able to communicate in clear, concise, and accurate manner. So if I had to sum up in a single line on what is the expectation from any professional who is working in the industry, he should be able to give clear, concise, and accurate documents so that the end user can actually interpret what you are trying to say. And here the audience could be anyone. So if you are a student, your audience is your professor. If you are a doctor, your audience is your patient. If you are a product engineer, it is your users who is the audience. And if you are working in an organization wherein you are part of a larger system, your peers, your managers, or people in your team who work for you would be using those documents and interpreting what you are trying to communicate. So depending on the audience, the context of the importance of the document would change, but the expectations remains the same. It should be clear, it should be concise, and it should be accurate. So let me take an example of this report. So this is basically a report prepared by a radiologist. So the information is complex. I mean, given that it is from a medical background and then it involves a lot of diagnosis. And so a patient comes with the expectation that first from a referral from a senior doctor, and then you go to a radiologist, and the radiologist basically does the required thing with the equipment. Now, everything that the equipment has shown him needs to be put together in a more in a concise manner, and the audience for the radiologist is the patient himself and the doctor who has referred. So the principles of what we discussed in previous slide The information should be very clear with respect to who the patient is, all the details around patient, what prompted him to come here, what did he provide with respect to specimens, and then it should be concise. So if you look at the diagnosis section, there is this, just try to imagine you going to a radiologist and the time that he spends in basically examining your body. But the information that he needs to send should be concise enough that the doctor is immediately able to interpret what the issue is. And most importantly, given that it's a medical report, it should be accurate. So just use this example and imagine any setup you are in, whether you are into a financial background, or you are into a legal background, or any kind of technical or engineering side of it. I cannot overstate the importance of providing a document which is clear, concise, and accurate. So I want, if there is one takeaway that I would want to stick with you, is that whenever from tomorrow onwards I make any kind of document, or I provide any kind of information, so that it is helpful to my audience, I should try to keep it clear, concise, and accurate. So I know I've said it in the previous slides who it is relevant to, but I would again want to re-emphasize with respect to whoever would be part of a professional career journey would need these skills. So I mean, how it dawned upon me was it was just like any difficult exam. So काफी बार ऐसे होता है, हम एग्जाम में जाते हैं पढ़ के और 80% चीजें आउट ऑफ पोर्शन आ जाती है. When I joined my job for first time, I realized that I never signed up for this, and this was not something that I was taught. My 80% of my time, or 80% of my transactions that used to happen with the peers, my bosses, with my clients, was all document driven, and we were never taught exhaustively on how I can interpret engineering information to communicate with various stakeholders. So technical writing, and now that I've spoken to people in various fields, I can safely conclude that technical writing is necessary part of any kind of job that you do today. So engineers will write technical specification for products, computer scientists will write manuals for their softwares, healthcare professions, as I showed you, would write reports to communicate with the patient. Financial professionals would write profit and loss reports and everything around the valuations of company and everything around the spendings, the inflow, outflow, and even law professionals. While there are two sides to it, I will stick to the engineering and product side of the legal document. So you have the intellectual property, the contracts with on any kind of product, and it could be any kind of affidavits that are there, which is written keeping engineering product at the center of it. So most of the professions you go out today, you will have to communicate in one or the other way, where the basis of technical writing would exist. So right now that we've acknowledged that the outer world seeks this skill, so how do I benefit from it immediately? Does it really come into picture, or is it something that we believe that it exists, but maybe it is not that important? So if you have to stand out at a very early stage of your career building, or let's assume you are at a stage where you are exposed to college placements or any kind of internship. So having a command over ability to express your subject matter expertise, it helps you to stand out with potential employers. So an employer would value who can communicate not just general English, but technical information effectively. Because the truth is, not everybody at a higher level in hierarchy would have so much time to dig into the depth of it. If you are able to tell them the gist of the things in a single line, they would appreciate, because you basically saved them with so much time. So any potential employee or potential candidate who is able to communicate the information in a very succinct manner would be at the top of their shortlist. So it gets you job ready. So while every profession has its own journey of learning, but the ability to understand and grasp the fundamentals of it makes you more relevant in the picking field when people actually come to choose you. And if you even look at from a business perspective, the better you communicate, the lesser are the risk or errors or misunderstandings that would be created. And from a business perspective, it eventually helps you to save time and money. So that is what the metric is. कोई भी कंपनी में जाओगे, एट द एंड ऑफ द डे वो लोग यही पूछेंगे कि कितना टाइम लग रहा है काम करने के लिए और कितना पैसा बच रहा है. तो उस हिसाब से अगर आप देखोगे, any skill that helps to target these two metric is a valuable skill. अगेन मैं डराना नहीं चाहता आपको. मुझे एक एग्जांपल लेना था. मैंने बहुत कोशिश की कोई सिंपल सा एग्जांपल ढूंढूं जिसमें सारी चीजें कवर हो, बट I think out of my habit to complicate things, I managed to do it one more time. So this is basically a life cycle of any product, whether it is a software product, a hardware product, or anything you set out to make something would have a life cycle start from beginning till end. And the truth is, at each stage, you would be documenting something that is relevant to that particular stage that enables you to move to the next stage. तो आप images यूज करोगे, आप बेसिक वर्ड डॉक्यूमेंट्स यूज करोगे, आप फ्लो चार्ट यूज करोगे, आप ड्राइंग्स यूज करोगे, but everything will be in the form of some kind of document wherein you are expressing information which is not just verbal English, but has some aspect of subject matter expertise to it. You are talking subject by using English as a base. So if you were to, when you move into a profession and you would see the entire journey of a product being developed, which could be from 1 year to 5 years, you would have multiple documents that are being generated and you would be at the center of it. And imagine you are working on one of the most important things and missing some information or miscommunicating, the cascading effect that would be there for people who are around or who basically depend on the information you communicate would be huge. So there is a lot on the line on the information that you share. It could be as simple as emails. I think at some point of time in English speaking or the course that you're currently going on, you would have some introduction to how to write emails. And while emails only look like a means of communication, but in today's world, a lot of technical information also get communicated because that is the fastest way of expressing things. And even organizations recognize emails as evidence for any kind of exchange of information. So emails हो गए आपके, summary reports हो गए, manuals, product portfolios, हर एक चीज जो है आपके document format में ही होती है. और उसमें जो होता है वो it could be 70% of text and 30% of flow charts, images, drawings. But as I said, the base may be English, but the main crux of it remains the subject matter expertise that you're dealing with. So since I have hyped or overhyped the need of technical writing, let me try to deconstruct on what all are the means by which the language skills can be split so that you can pick up the art of technical writing very fast. So clarity and clarity, as I mean, as I mean, I'm using it very frequently here, but somehow I've seen the effects of not being clear. So that's why I want you to remember that conveying any kind of complex information in an easy and succinct manner, you would be at the benefit. And let's be honest, there is no point in using unnecessary words or any plain languages just to make things look big. And while it may look like, okay, maybe I have covered a lot of information, but it doesn't add any value. Just try to organize the information in a logical way and try to be as clear as possible. Around it comes your grammar and punctuation. So all the basic skills that you are learning as part of English language, they are non-negotiable. So grammar and punctuation is a non-negotiable thing. वो तो आपके framework है ही जब आप कोई भी document बना रहे हो. On the top of it, you are adding things like clarity, accuracy. So there is no point in giving information which is not factually correct. If the weightage of information is high, if it is very close to what data suggests or is very close to being accurate, only then somebody would you think that those documents are reliable and trustworthy. Otherwise, just पेज भरने के लिए, जैसे हम कभी कभी एग्जाम में कोई आंसर नहीं आते तो कम से कम पेज भर देते, शायद हैंडराइटिंग के मार्क्स मिल जाए, वो एग्जाम तक ठीक है, पर जब हमारे डॉक्यूमेंट्स हम किसी और के साथ शेयर कर रहे हैं तो फिर उसमें फायदा नहीं होगा. तो कोशिश यही रहनी चाहिए कि जितना हो सके उतना एक्यूरेट इन्फॉर्मेशन दो. काफी बार ऐसा होता है कि हमारे पास 100% एक्यूरेट इन्फॉर्मेशन नहीं होता. So we try to communicate in a way where the reader understands कि the author has done his best to reach to information which is as accurate as possible, but there are some gaps which is left to author's competency to figure out. Then is the formatting and design part. I mean, it's just like the external world. So आप अपना desk, अपना wardrobe, जो भी चीजें जैसे अच्छे से arrange करते हो तो आपको उसको use करने का मन करता है. उसी तरह अगर आपका documents का formatting और design भी सही रहेगा तो पढ़ने वालों को भी कुछ पढ़ने का मन करेगा. And using headings, bullet points, tables just helps to organize the information so that people can pick up the relevant information as fast as possible. So, I mean, the higher a person is in hierarchy, the faster they want to consume the information. And the best way to being noticed by people in higher hierarchy is to basically produce them information which is clear, which is concise, which is accurate, and is available in a format which enables them to consume it very fast. And of course, जैसे एग्जाम में लगता है कि काश थोड़ा और टाइम होता, ऑफिस में भी ऐसे लगता है डॉक्यूमेंट भेजने के पहले काश थोड़ा और टाइम होता तो मैं और अच्छे से बना लेता. बट if you have 100% of time to do a task, please reserve at least 5% at the tail end of it for editing and proofreading. हम कभी कभी इंफॉर्मेशन ज्यादा भरने के चक्कर में लास्ट मोमेंट तक जितना होगा उतना भर के बस भेज देते हैं. इंस्टेड वो लास्ट की 2 लाइनें नहीं भेजो तो भी चलेगा, लेकिन उसके आगे जो भी आपने भेजा है उसको आपने सही से अगर प्रूफ रीड करके जहां जरूरत है वहां एडिटिंग करके भेजा, एटलीस्ट दैट 90% information would have higher value than sending what looks like 100% information but which is not even 70% of what it should have been. तो जब भी आप अपना टाइम स्प्लिट करोगे कोई भी डॉक्यूमेंट बनाने के लिए, चाहे वो आपके जर्नल्स ही क्यों ना हो, अभी चाहे वो आपके एग्जाम के पेपर ही क्यों ना हो। आप अगर पेपर लिखने जा रहे हो, अगर एग्जाम 3 घंटे का है, तो यू हैव टू गो विद द फैक्ट दैट आई एम गोइंग फॉर 2 hour 45 minute एग्जाम, क्योंकि आखिरी के 15 मिनट में चेक करूंगा मैं क्या लिख रहा हूँ, इफ नॉट मोर। तो you have to time yourself for 2 hour 45 minutes, because the last 15 minutes is for editing and proofreading. Otherwise, in the attempt to do things faster, you actually miss out some things, especially जो middle 1 hour का पीरियड रहता है, जब हम अपने मोमेंटम में रहते हैं और लिखते ही चले जाते हैं, वहां पर काफी ज्यादा प्रोबेबिलिटी रहती है एरर की. सो एडिटिंग एंड प्रूफ रीडिंग इज अगेन अनदर नॉन नेगोशिएबल थिंग विथ रेस्पेक्ट टू any kind of information that we communicate. So just then, I mean, I thought I'll just put out some examples. So let's try to see. While, as I said, both the versions might look like they are communicating the same information, but it's just the delivery of information which has impact. So let's take this example. So the implementation of new security measures will significantly enhance the overall security of the network infrastructure, thus mitigating potential vulnerabilities and improving protection against unauthorized access and data breaches. I almost ran out of my breath when I tried to read this, and I wanted to stop midway कि काश मुझे information पहले ही मिल जाता जो वो बोलना चाहता है. So a revised version of it is the new security measures will enhance network security, reduce vulnerabilities, and protect against unauthorized access and data breaches. So अगर हम इन दोनों चीजों कंपेयर करते हैं, the first version आपको दिख ही रहा होगा कि लाइन में ही दिख रहा है कि वो 4 लाइन तक चला गया है, and it lacks that conciseness, whereas the revised version maintains clarity while presenting the information. It's more concise and straightforward. वो बता दे रहा है कि it will enhance your network security, it will reduce your vulnerabilities. जो है वो पॉइंट पे लिख दिया, ज्यादा वर्ड्स वगैरह मिक्स करके, क्योंकि वैसे भी ऑफिस में हैंडराइटिंग के और कंटेंट बड़ा करने के मार्क्स नहीं मिलते, तो जो इन्फॉर्मेशन जितना क्लियर है उसी में हमको एड्रेस करने की कोशिश करना चाहिए, ना कि पेज भरने की. Again, another example just from a different field. Medical information, one-liner information, very simple. It's just saying you that the disease has multifactorial etiology involving genetic, environmental, and lifestyle factors. Simple. अब उसको उतना खींचने की जरूरत नहीं है जो हमने repetitive words यूज किए, सेंटेंस को लॉन्ग कर दिया है. We need to keep it very clear so that the reader also feels to read it. The more the number of sentences, like the one mentioned in green, the larger would be the hook for the audience to, or the reader to stay to read more information about it. हम जितना वर्डी और जितने बड़े पैराग्राफ भर देंगे उतने जल्दी रीडर थक जाएगा. So I think what I told you before was around the technical writing language skills, and here I will talk you through the process of technical writing. So how do you plan when you have to submit a report? चाहे वो आपका एक जर्नल पेपर ही क्यों ना हो, चाहे वो कोई एक आर्टिकल क्यों ना हो जो आप एक कोई टेक्निकल ब्लॉग में सबमिट कर रहे हो, या फिर आपका रिसर्च थीसिस क्यों ना हो, and eventually when you get into the professional careers, it could be an important report or a pitch deck that you are basically sending it to your peers or your bosses. So needless to say, the first step is to plan. So why am I doing it? So I need to plan the purpose of the document and who could be the eventual consumers. Who is the audience for whom I am writing? Are the people equally knowledgeable? Are the people whom I'm introducing to a new subject? Or are these the people who already know a lot about it? So I should not, just run around the bush and basically try to make it wordy again. So depending on the type of audience, you can tailor make your approach. So, and of course, you have to plan about the format and design of the document. So the moment you freeze on the design of the document, your brain automatically starts working on what I need to fill in at those places. Just imagine having a skeleton wherein you can put in the related information. तो इसीलिए one of the tips जो मुझे भी मेरे कॉलेज में मिला था जब मैं अपना फाइनल रिपोर्ट बना रहा था, तो I had to basically compile information worth of 6 months of work that I have done. So the easiest way was what my professor told me was आप अपना table of contents बना लो पहले कि मैंने literature review किया, then what was the purpose of my research, what were the experiments that I conducted, what was the observation from it, what is my conclusion. The moment I put this structure to my documents, I know कि मुझे इस बास्केट में क्या क्या इंफॉर्मेशन भरना है. जो भी मेरा 6 महीने का इंफॉर्मेशन है मैं उसको सेग्रीगेट करके रख दूंगा. ओके, दिस कम्स इनटू ऑब्जर्वेशंस, दिस कम्स इनटू माय कंक्लूजन पार्ट, दिस इज माय इनिशियल लिटरेचर रिव्यू, and then I start making it. So when you're planning for it, the moment you define the format and the design of document, you've actually done the first 20% of your work. Then the second step is research. Most of our technical documents would involve some amount of research, whether it is from your own personal work or it could be from learnings from what others have done. You would be referring a lot of different authors or a lot of different subject matter experts who have done their job, and you're just trying to summarize what all they've done. Key thing is referring to reliable sources. Because remember, our rule, what we had said was we need to give accurate information, and accurate information only comes from reliable sources. So depending on which area you are working up, kis field mein ho, you will have to identify the sources which have the highest probability of giving reliable information. I mean, we are tempted कि हम Google पे जाए, Wikipedia से पूछ ले. We are tempted even now to go to ChatGPT. But ChatGPT will only mine the information from whatever is available in the internet environment. It won't give you saying that this information is 90% correct, this information 80% correct. No, it will just dump you the information that exists. So I would still suggest people to identify the reliable source of information and read them rather than just going to ChatGPT. I encourage people to use ChatGPT because it makes your life much easier. But try questioning it, and it does not have confidence on itself. कभी भी ChatGPT में आप डालना और उसको बोलना कि once it gives information, just tell it, I think you're not given the right information. It would immediately submit and say, oh yes, I believe I'm not given the right information, and then it will start searching for something else. So there's no point in working with a person who does not have confidence on himself. But it will give you good information that exists in the internet. But depending on the field that you are, you need to identify ये academic journal है जहाँ से मुझे सही information मिलेगा, ये वो publishing house है जहाँ पे हमेशा information बहुत scrutiny से जाती है, तो यहाँ का information मैं judge कर सकता हूँ. Then once, okay, I've done my planning, I have my skeleton, I've done my research करने के बाद में मुझे बहुत सारा content आ जाता है. Now I need to organize it. So organizing the information involves segregating how much of it would be wordy side of things, how much of it would be a tabular format of it, where can I, skip the textual part and express the same information using a image or a flow chart or a photograph. I mean, flow charts are a very effective way of making your information concise. Instead of saying first do this thing, second you do this, then third you have to do this, you have to go there. No, just put a small flow chart. It will make it वो page आपके A4 page का real estate भी साफ रहेगा और information भी communicate हो जाएगा. And once you've taken this call on your organizing, then you get into the actual writing side of things, wherein it involves drafting the document and then revising the stuff that were written, reading, rereading it, structuring the sentences, using the fundamentals of English language. So that's what आप सब्जेक्ट मैटर एक्सपर्ट कोई भी फील्ड में हो, आप वो इन्फॉर्मेशन कम्युनिकेट कर रहे, बट फंडामेंटल्स जो है आपके वो आपकी इंग्लिश लैंग्वेज के ही है. तो जब तक आपकी इंग्लिश लैंग्वेज की फंडामेंटल्स क्लियर नहीं, आप सब्जेक्ट मैटर एक्सपर्ट वाली चीजें भी कम्युनिकेट नहीं कर पाएंगे. सो दैट इज व्हाई आई थिंक वी आर in the safe hands with respect to what is being taught in the English classes that you're going on, whether it is your foundation level or the intermediate level. But वो fundamentals को हमने भूलना नहीं है, क्योंकि they are the secret sauce behind the information that you're trying to communicate. And yeah, your as I was saying, your paragraphs should be well organized, and the entire structure part around your content. So I just picked up an example. Let's assume you are a hardware engineer from a computer science background, and you want to write a manual on how to install a graphic card in your computer. So planning stage में आप क्या करोगे कि सबसे पहले okay, who is the targeted people? So this will be for people who are enthusiasts, जो घर बैठ के खुद ही मैं अपना कंप्यूटर अपग्रेड कर लूंगा, बस खरीद के ले आते हैं करके, पर उसको समझ में आना भी चाहिए कि क्या करना है क्या नहीं. तो मैं उस यूजर को ध्यान में रखूंगा कि ये बंदा जो है खुद से कर लेता है, बस इसको मैंने सही डायरेक्शन देना है. Then I will go around the manufacturer manuals या फिर कोई और ऑनलाइन रिसोर्स या फिर टेक्निकल फोरम जहाँ पर लोगों ने बताया है कि मैनुअल में तो ऐसे लिखा है, पर एक्चुअल में आई विल हैव टू मे बी पुश इट अ बिट हार्डर, या फिर स्लॉट थोड़ा नीचे है. वो जो फाइन ट्यूनिंग ऑफ एक्यूरेसी ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन है वो आपको फोरम्स वगैरह से लेनी होगी. देन awareness on the language that I have to use. I don't want to overwhelm them with the words, technical jargons, जो इससे कि उसको ये लगे कि यार मैं इससे अच्छा खुद ही ये पेज बंद करके खुद एक बार उसको डाल देता हूँ अंदर, चला गया तो ठीक. तो since it is a place where it could be a ITI person who is just trying to repair computer in some shop in a tier 3 city in India. तो यहाँ पर मैं इमेजेस ज्यादा यूज करूंगा, 4-5 वर्ड्स यूज करूंगा, एक आध एरो दे दूंगा कि यहाँ पर करना है, so that the clarity and simplicity basically comes out. So again, a small example, same information but in a bit better way. Connect the power cable to auxiliary power connector on the graphic card. यहाँ पे attach the power cable to the extra power connector on the graphic card. ज़्यादा difference नहीं है उसमें, but it's just the way it is delivered that it makes it more effective. And some thumb rules of language using active voice, because you know the process is happening. It's an installation manual. So somebody is following a sequence. So I would instruct saying that insert the graphic card into the PCIe slot, rather than using the passive voice where it is inserted into the PCIe slot. And as I said, visual aids. I mean, that there is no substitute to proper visual aids, especially when you are when it's a hands-on thing. तो बहुत बार आप I mean pick a profession in the technical side especially, there would be somebody who is doing something or the other hands-on, चाहे वो computer science side में या फिर core engineering side में. और जब चीजें hands-on होती है, this slight awareness of where to use active voice, where to use passive voice, where to use proper label diagrams, ये सब छोटी-छोटी चीजें जो आपके document को और concise और better बना सकती है. So I mean, ठीक है, बता तो दिया क्या है, कैसे करना है, and all those things क्यों जरूरी है. तो कुछ tips भी, I mean, how can you do it? Reading is a more people who came to RO1 might remember what even Swamiji said. Reading is a habit that people have to pick up if they have to succeed in whatever field they have taken. The more you expose towards different writing styles, the higher the probability of you developing your own style, which is a global average of whatever styles you've read. So I mean, there's a saying, a person is average of the 6 people with whom he spends his time most. So if those 6 people are top authors in your field, and you may not, there is no need for you to know them. You just need to read about them or read what they've done, and you became an average of those top 6 people. So understanding of grammar, vocabulary, syntax, and their writing style is what you will gain when you read extensively. And to improve your technical writing, so you will have to read manual scientific papers and technical reports. So there is dearth of information that exists. I mean, so much of it is there. So it's just that you pick up the top quality sources, read them, and then that becomes your style. आपको उसमें अलग से effort लेने पड़ेगा, trust me. You just have to read and grasp the style of it. And at some point in time, you realize that I am actually getting into that flow because it's basic science. You trained your brain to do what you learned. And once you develop this habit, you just don't stop there. You will have to write regularly. So initially, there will be a lot of inertia from your side कि लिखना भी पड़ेगा, क्या एग्जाम में लिख ही देते हैं. काफी बच्चों को आदत होती है कि पूरा सेमेस्टर वो लोग कभी लिख के प्रैक्टिस नहीं करते और एग्जाम वाले दिन ही अपनी राइटिंग स्किल आजमाना चाहते हैं, और उस दिन लगता है कि यार पेपर तो बहुत लंबा चल रहा है. बट technical writing का भी कुछ ऐसे ही है. You will have to start writing with a 1-pager, a 2-pager, and slowly आप उस flow में चले जाते हो जहाँ पर you end up writing even 30-35 pages of documents, and you realize before you realized you actually written a book. So write regularly and have these periodic feedbacks on reading through journals and all, and then again come back and read your stuff, and you will realize कि हाँ यार इसको ऐसे modify किया जा सकता है करके. And अभी at least for this generation you have very good friends like Grammarly. तो आजकल तो किसी को स्पेलिंग याद रखना ही नहीं पड़ता है, बस राइट क्लिक करना है और सही स्पेलिंग आ जाता है अपने आप. और तो वो प्रॉब्लम भी नहीं है कि हमको स्पेलिंग्स भी याद रहने चाहिए. और ग्रामरली ने तो आके आपको सेंटेंस फॉर्मेटिंग में भी हेल्प करना शुरू कर दिया है. सो इट्स अ गुड थिंग, इट मेक्स थिंग्स फास्टर. बट अगर आपको किसी ने पेन और पेपर दे दिया लिखने के लिए, तब तो आप राइट क्लिक नहीं कर पाओगे. सो आई वुड स्टिल सजेस्ट कि आप ये टूल्स को तभी यूज कीजिए जब आप प्रो हो गए और आपको बहुत सारा काम करना है कम टाइम में. इनिशियल स्टेजेस ऑफ इट, keep the spell check off in your Microsoft Word so that you are able to write the right spelling on your own. Then I come to, the final part. Where will this happen? So we've done the why part of it, we've done the how part of it. तो इनको implementation मेरा कहाँ पर है? अभी तो मैं पेपर लिख के मेरा काम हो जा रहा है, एग्जाम्स हो गए. उसके बाद में जब when I actually get into a profession, then you have the hands down side of it is your Microsoft Word document. Everybody anywhere in the world you go, they would be using Microsoft Word document, and Google Docs is more or less an adaptation of it only. So Microsoft Word में you just like हम स्कूल में पहले किताब में लिखना सीखते हैं, आफ्टर सर्टेन एज आपको माइक्रोसॉफ्ट वर्ड में लिखना सीखना ही पड़ेगा. So it has wide range of formatting options. It will have templates, lot of collaboration features that are there, so which helps you to create and edit your technical documents. So थोड़ा tech savvy होना होगा, माइक्रोसॉफ्ट वर्ड समझना होगा, गूगल डॉक समझना होगा, and there are document collaboration tools. आप अगर if you're working with a set of 3 or 4 people, you need to share with some of co-authors, which helps you with real-time editing. कुछ comments डालना हो गया, versions अलग बनाते जाना है, तो then you need to know how Google Drive or your Microsoft SharePoint operates. So it is good to have awareness of it. If you go to your first job and you already know about these things, then you basically present different persona of yourself to people, and they would also be more than happy to teach you things faster if these things are out of the plate. For people who would be going for research related career professions, or for higher studies, which is like masters or PhD, they would have to learn a tool called latex. So this is very commonly used for writing
Looks like Rajesh's connection has dropped. Yeah,
Yeah, I can't hear him either.
Yes, ma'am.
he's frozen.
that's
now.
right.
Just hold on for a while. Maybe we can get
yeah.
in touch with him.
Anyways, in the meantime, students, you'll find it very interesting. Okay, is he back? No, not yet, right?
Not yet, not yet.
So students, you'll find it very interesting that we can draw a parallel here, that you have been doing presses, you've been doing summary, advanced grammar, punctuation, all that Rajesh ji has also been mentioning in his talk. So we encourage you to submit in homework so that it can be corrected, because he is emphasizing again and again on writing. So the more you write, the more tighter you can write. Then you know how to remove the redundancies and to avoid wordiness. This is the next topic of grammar that we'll be doing next week, from next week onwards. So a lot of it is there, but the technical aspect, of course, is a huge takeaway from whatever Rajesh ji is telling us today, is sharing with us today. Right, Rashmi?
Yeah. In fact, if you try to make a connection with what you've done so far. So like when you were sharing the examples, I could see that there were extra adjectives and extra adverbs in, the sentence, which were, hi Rajesh ji, welcome back.
Are you back?
am I audible?
Yes,
You are. So
please continue.
I was just finishing something, and then you can continue. So, so there were adverbs and there were adjectives, and once you remove them, then, you have a clean sentence. So now you have, we've already given you those tools. So start using them, see how that can be integrated with everything else that you are receiving through these workshops. Please go on, Rajesh. We're just filling in when you were not there.
I think again, internet has dropped.
Okay.
So going back to the examples that were shared by Rajesh ji, actually what he did is he took away the unnecessary details, the irrelevant details, something that sentences could be done with. So what was left ultimately after taking away things, you were left with the bare bones. That is how he tightened the sentence. So there are bare bones to the sentences. This we will be doing also next week. So this is what Rashmi ji also meant when she talked about, if we take away the adverbs, adjectives, then what is the crux of the matter? What is it that we're talking about? What is the most important detail? Remember when we did summary, I also taught you that please do not put in extra examples or extra details unnecessarily. So it's something same way. So when you do something very technical, you have to be very, very clear, very concise. You should know who your audience is. He talked about a great amount of planning, do your research, read manuals. He talked about knowing your being aware of your audience. And of course, writing with immense clarity and simplicity, because you are there not to write a love letter, students. You're writing there to deliver a message, right? So that is the essence of writing. This is what Rajesh ji is talking about. So we are going to blame everything on the rain today. Anybody who wants to chip in is welcome to chip in.
It would be nice to hear from the students,
Students, you can start asking questions. I mean, we have so many mentors here, anybody can answer. I mean, we have very esteemed Piyush ji with us. We have Malini ji, we have Vidya ji, we have Kavya ji, Rashmi ji, so many, Navneet ji is here. Anybody will be answering you. Come on, just start. Okay, there you go. Great.
He's back.
You know, Rajesh ji, actually, even I was getting cut off. I actually had to use my dongle to join back. So I'm on the dongle.
No, I already jinxed myself. I told Sonali ji, "Aaj kuch na kuch to hoga," and thankfully it was, I think, the last slide that I was on to.
Okay.
Yes, I mean, yes, almost there. I'll just wrap up if that's okay. One more slide.
Yes, of course,
Yeah,
certainly.
yeah.
Yeah, I think we can take questions from students.
Okay, fair enough. Okay. So we are taking the questions, or how is it?
Anji.
Okay, ठीक है.
Yes, all the tech students can chip in their questions, start asking. बहुत सारे tech के बच्चे यहाँ पे especially या general writing वाले भी बहुत हैं. They can ask questions. Please raise your hand.
Yeah, students, please raise your hands. Sonali ma'am will moderate this. Thank you.
I don't see any raised hand.
So I've done a good job at confusing students and forcing them to the point that they don't even want to ask a question.
Okay, maybe I'll begin. So, Rajesh, walk us through what a badly written document, according to you, is like. You know.
I mean, I will talk in terms of impact.
Yeah.
So, depending on the situation you are in. So let's assume I'm actually in a professional setup wherein in the entire project I have a very important scope that I have to deal with. The moment I so the three things: the clear, concise, and accuracy part. So if I'm not able to give a clear and concise information, I'm basically I'm forcing people to consume a lot of time to understand the information that I'm trying to give. So there will be so many people who are dependent on the information that I share. Everybody is just individual cog in the entire wheel. And then if I'm the one who is actually causing people to sit and break their heads, कहना क्या चाहते हो वाला mode, then that I'm basically the cause for the delay in the project. If I'm not giving an accurate information, it could have, catastrophic impacts, especially when you're trying to calculate something or when you're trying to, decode your calculations based on the information that I am communicating. So that's why the varied impacts, but cost and time, as I said in my first slide, in a technical setup or in a professional setup, eventually, if you are not causing any kind of hiccups to the time and cost metric, you are doing a good job.
All right.
I mean, the last point that I wanted to talk about was the difference between a technical writing and creative writing. So sometimes we, especially for people who have interest in the literature side of things, they may develop a knack of, writing everything that is more inclined toward the creative side of things. But in a technical writing setup, it may not help much because the creative writing is more intended for a general audience. So it has more of a figurative language. Sometimes you put a bit of metaphor and you try to engage the experience of the reader. But when it comes to the technical writing side, you have to be very straightforward, very objective, and that is how your style should be, with your focus on your clarity, accuracy of the information that you're communicating. So it is good that you have an understanding of creative writing, but we have to be mindful enough not to mix the creative writing fundamentals in your technical writing objective. Otherwise, you don't want to make your bosses poetic in your reviews. So I think slight demarcation on what technical writing intention is and what creative writing intention is, again, would be really helpful for people who are authors.
Okay, Rajesh, I also have a question here. I'm trying to understand when you say technical writing, we are mainly focusing on the reports and, you know, whatever those documents which need to be done in an work setting, right?
Mhm.
So are we also talking about communication within the within an office premise or something like that? Does that also constitute? I think for a to a large extent, this really forms a basis of communication within an office setup. So even if it's a technical writing that somebody has to send towards boss or to their peers and all that, is there a requirement to use particular words or use correct headings to get the attention so that your time is given, your priority for your work is given? Is there a requirement for that, or that does not come into this particular type of writing?
No, correct. I mean, yeah. So that's why initially I had mentioned even emails. So emails being a means of communication, and I should have extended it to formal communications in office also. So that's why the tip that I give, that I spoke to my mentees also, you have to think like you are writing a technical document or something. Then only then it becomes part of your communication. Because you would have hardly 5 or 10 minutes of quick chat with your peer or your bosses or something on the technical side of things. Even when you're communicating there, these rules apply equally, wherein you're trying to be clear, concise, you're asking for accurate information or giving an accurate information, and you've researched before you go on to talk to them, so that you are not spending 60% of your time thinking what I should be saying. Instead of it, you are being succinct about what you want to communicate. So the outcome could be as simple as a 5-minute dialogue in a professional setup, or as vast as a report. But the rules are equally applicable. And yeah, thank you for pointing it out, because I only extended it till emails, but most of our communications or stand-up meetings that generally happen would be around the technical or subject matter expertise that we want to communicate.
Yeah, actually, what I was also asking is, even if you're sending out mails to your colleagues, to your customers, to your peers, and then you need to make it into form of a small, concise summary or report. So there could be some, what do you call, some ideas or some suggestions you can give to them to make it more effective, so that their work gets done or they get the right response from other people.
Even emails, I would use the same rules, wherein I would have a structure to my email, starting with what is it that my subject line should basically say, why am I knocking your door? And then it starts with, this is what I did, this is what I expected, but this is what I found. Can you help me with this? So the structure of information and the clarity of what I'm sending. Some of the emails are as good as my technical document. So that is what I have adapted, because look, it's just a matter of means that I am changing, but my intent throughout is same, that I'm either trying to give some information which somebody will consume, or trying to ask that is useful for me from my perspective. But the rules of games remain same. Even if I'm writing on MS Teams or a Google chat, if it is meant to extract some information on the subject that we're dealing with, it has to be in a structured way, so that we get to the point very fast.
Sorry if I'm taking more of your time. Just one more last question. Abhi, let us look at your colleagues or your subordinates or your bosses. They're looking at their screen and the mails are continuously coming. Like it's like literally like they're just scrolling. So now you want that person to, you want to catch that person, you get the eye, it should catch the eye of that person so that they immediately react to it. So is there any suggestion I'm not telling about making it look dramatic or, pertaining in some jargons, not like that. So are there any some particular suggestions you can give to people so they learn when they are in the workspace to make their communication, their formal communication, official communication, technical communication more effective? So they start from the beginning of their job, they start learning to do it that way.
So when somebody looks at an inbox, the only thing that they can see is the subject line. So in the subject line, if something really alarming that you want people to react, you start the subject line with the word urgent. So you put urgent and then you put the heading of it. If you are really a person who empathizes with the person who is reading email, if you are not sending something that is not urgent, you can put it as low priority also. So that the person knows that ठीक है, मुझे आज ये खोल के इस पे अभी 5 मिनट वेस्ट नहीं करने, जब मैं फुर्सत से रहूंगा तब मैं इसको खोल लेता हूँ. सो अर्जेंट लिखना तो पहला चीज है जो आसान चीज है. कुछ लोग को आदत होते हैं हर चीज अर्जेंट लिखने की, तो आपकी अर्जेंसी की वैल्यू भी चली जाएगी. But if you are really a good empathetic person, you would also put low priority in some of your emails. And that is a trick that you should follow. कुछ emails में low priority डाल के भेजो, so that अगली बार जब urgent भेजोगे तो बंदा थोड़ा वैल्यू देगा कि हाँ इसने अर्जेंट लिखा है इस बार, तो इस बार तो मुझे सबसे पहले खोल के देखना चाहिए. Because subject line is the one that first comes when you open your inbox, and then of course the moment he opens it, clear, concise and accurate. So वहाँ पर
Rajesh ji, मेरा एक छोटा सा प्रश्न है. How can our students, what should our students typically keep in mind to avoid making a technical mistake or even a blunder for that matter? Because these things will be very expensive mistakes and they are irreversible, in fact, right? So what is it, other than awareness, audience awareness, what is it that one or two things that they should remember when they're writing?
The first tip was, of course, that last 10% of your time is for review, so that you actually go through what you're writing. So even an email that you're going to send, just don't finish and then regards लिख के भेज दिया नहीं. Just go through it. What is it that you wanted to write? Reviewing is one part, and second part is when you are at the stage when you're researching. So planning, researching, and then actual writing. When you're researching, just spend more time on validating the accuracy of information. Even if you are getting information from 4 or 5 of your colleagues, ensure that you've cross-checked with them what they meant. Have verbal evidences लेने से अच्छा उनसे भी लिखित में ले लो कि आप क्या कह रहे थे. बाद में आप summary तो भेज ही सकते हो. But have some evidences, because somebody may mean something else when they say, but you may interpret it different way and then send an email, and then अरे नहीं मैंने तो ऐसे बोला था वाला situation तो बहुत common है. उससे अच्छा अगर कोई if the mail that you're sending has value, just get it. Can you just put a one-liner to me what you wanted to say about it? Use that as information and then collate and send it around.
Yeah. And my second question, Rajesh, very quickly is, I mean, while we teach our students to write formally and to speak formally, but when it comes to now technical writing versus technical speaking, supposing you were the boss and if our students were your employees for that matter, but they're also in a position wherein they're not your friends, but you have a very cordial relationship in a workplace. So when they speak technically, it's going to be extremely formal. And very hard. It's a very hard conversation, actually. So how formal or informal can our students be at that point?
So, I mean,
they're still speaking pure work. They're still speaking pure work.
Correct. So, I don't know if I came out that way. I didn't emphasize more on being formal, but I emphasized more on being structured. So if they are able to give me structured information so that I am able to visualize the blocks, because that is what would happen. Abhi hum bhi, even people who work with me, they are like easily 8 to 10 years younger than me. We would chat outside just when we are just relaxing and all, but still discussing important thing. I am now trying to imagine what he's trying to say. I went there, these sort of things happened. I tried this, but ye nahi chala karke. So that entire sequence of his thought process should be a structured way. He can use mix of Hindi, English language. he can basically make fun around it. यार मैंने try किया पर हुआ नहीं क्योंकि मैंने वो button पहले दबा दिया and all. But if he is following the structure and the sequence, I would be able to join the dots and tell him, अरे यार तूने वो करना चाहिए था. So structure is more important than being formal. So that I mean formal तो हम email में हो ही जाते हैं, documents में तो mandatory है ही. But when you are relaxing, if you put that structure around it, it becomes very easier to concisely absorb the information that is there.
Great, great insight. Thank you. Any more questions, students? This is the time. Yes, Shruti, go ahead.
Shruti has raised the hand.
Yes, ma'am. So, sir, I have a question from you that how can technical writing applied for in the subjects like humanities? Because as you've mentioned, it is more of a technical subject, a technical kind of writing. So how can it be applied?
So the rules of writing that I mentioned, I mean, वो मुझे वो हेडिंग ना मुझे यही लग रहा था कि मैंने टेक्निकल डाल के ना ऑलरेडी एक यूजर बेस को दूर कर दिया उससे, बट इट शुड हैव बीन स्ट्रक्चर्ड राइटिंग और समथिंग लाइक दैट. तो the tips around how you plan, how you structure, how you research and eventually write your content is applicable to a journalist, is applicable to a lawyer, is applicable to a doctor or anyone. मतलब बिना कागजी कार्रवाई के आज के बिना दुनिया कहाँ चलती है, लिखना ही पड़ता है कहीं पर भी हो. तो the particular slide on where I say before you start writing something, so just imagine आपका output क्या है, what is it that you're trying to do. Just think कि कौन consume करने वाला है. आप अपने टीचर को भेज रहे हो कि अगर आप let's assume you're a journalist, you're sending it out to millions of people who will read the news. Newspaper में भी तो एक structure होता ही है. Initially there will be a headline, then the first paragraph will try to engage you. Middle के paragraph are the information which actually you can skip. And finally, they would give some information that makes you buy the next edition also. तो वो तो एक indirect structure है, एक inherent structure बन चुका है. So understanding your audience, building a structure, writing, reviewing, ये rules तो सबके लिए universally applicable है. और जब आप लिखना वैसे शुरू करते हो तो आप सोचना भी वैसे शुरू करते हो. और जितना आप ऐसे सोचोगे उतना फास्ट से लिख पाओगे. जितना आप ये फास्ट लिख पाओगे, जब आपको मौका नहीं होगा लिखने का और कोई आपको बस बॉस एक बार लिफ्ट में मिल गया है तो आप स्ट्रक्चर्ड सोच के यू नो व्हाट ऐसे ऐसे हो गया और थर्ड फ्लोर से फर्स्ट फ्लोर आने तक आपने आपका काम कर लिया. सो इट इज these things go hand in hand. Start with reading, then with thinking, then writing, then revisit by reading just to see where your style is going, then evolve your thinking accordingly and see by speaking to others how well they are able to grasp it. अगर लोग आपसे ज़्यादा communicate करना शुरू कर चुके हैं, इसका मतलब you have excelled the art of actually communicating in a more structured way.
Thank you, sir.
श्रुति, मुझे आपसे ही होप था क्योंकि आपने पहले ज्वाइन किया कॉल पे, तो क्वेश्चन भी आपने पूछना था.
I think if students get into a habit of writing something every day, some kind of journaling, at least once a week or something, that will automatically start helping them to get structured. क्योंकि हमारा दिमाग में एक jumble of thoughts रहता है, जब हमने लिखने के लिए शुरू कर देते हैं, वो automatically थोड़ा सा structured हो जाता है. So I feel getting into the practice of writing itself on their own.
Now the pressure on this generation to be concise and very short is even more because the type of content people consume on their mobile phones is very short. So the attention span is very less. You would have YouTube shorts which are like 15 seconds. You would have Instagram shorts which are like 20 seconds. So nobody wants to concentrate beyond that 20 seconds. अगर आपको किसी का attention 20 seconds में grab करना है, even in a technical setup, then having this structure becomes a non-negotiable thing. So and being concise. मैं बड़े-बड़े paragraph अब तो नहीं चलने वाले, because the end consumer कोई भी हो, eventually a person who is using mobile phone, that mobile phone has spoiled his attention span it has come very lower. So concise और precise होना तो non-negotiable हो गया है.
Rajesh ji, with the student, I would like just to share one example. College time पे I have seen one movie. तो उसमें क्या था कि there was some emergency in airplane. Pilot went through some emergency. और जो हीरो होता है वहाँ पे वो मैनुअल उठाता है टेक्निकल पायलट का, and he was not professionally pilot. But वो मूवी का ही होता है कि वो with all that 200 passengers and crew staff, he was able to land the plane safely on the runway. So that day I understood कि जो ये technical documentation और writing की importance है. So it basically depends on the other person. आपने कितना अच्छा लिखा है उसकी assessment इस पे है कि जिसके लिए लिखा गया है whether that person has successfully decoded that information और उसको वो result मिला है. आज के टाइम पे इसको हम correlate करें अपने प्रोफेशन में, we call सर्विस सेंटर्स जो कि IVR सिस्टम है. आप मोबाइल के कॉल सेंटर को कॉल करते हो, बैंकिंग के कॉल सेंटर को कॉल करते हो, यू ऑल गेट फ्रस्ट्रेटेड कि 1 दबाओ, 2 दबाओ, 4 दबाओ. अरे भाई मैंने इस सिंपल चीज के लिए कॉल करी थी और यू नेवर लैंड अप टू द डिजायर्ड रिजल्ट. ये टेक्निकल डॉक्यूमेंटेशन का पहले तो ये सारी कम्युनिकेशन ह्यूमन टू ह्यूमन हो रही थी. Means you are talking and teacher is talking and students are listening. Now in the current world digitization और इसमें you are talking with machines and further machines are now started talking with machines. जैसे भी driverless cars आ रही हैं जो सारा भी देख रहे हैं, smart devices हो रही हैं, Alexa, ChatGPT. So the importance of this again becomes very much understandable. So that the end product, which now may not be a human being, that could be a chatbot or some device. अगर आपने कोई क्वेश्चन पूछा है किसी से और उसका राइट आंसर आ गया है, so that shows the importance of the back end, whatever has been written in a structured way or flow chart way. So that I just wanted to share.
करेक्ट. नहीं बिल्कुल सही बात बोली. अभी मैं मतलब हम तो इसके दौरान ऐसा लगा कि when I'm saying you need to understand the audience, शायद मैं ये बोल रहा हूँ कि इंसान किस तरह का है. बट एक्चुअली नाउ अगर कोई API का एग्जांपल ले लूंगा तो एक सॉफ्टवेयर दूसरे सॉफ्टवेयर से बात कर रहा है, तो मुझे समझना होगा कि ये वाला जो सॉफ्टवेयर है this it understands this flow of things. तो वहां पर भी I need to follow a structure so that otherwise मेरे कमांड और मेरे इंटेंट के बीच में बहुत ज्यादा गैप रह जाएगा तो फिर आउटकम कुछ और ही आएगा. तो अंडरस्टैंडिंग द ऑडियंस इज इक्वली एप्लीकेबल. और अभी एज यू सेड सॉफ्टवेयर से बात कर रहा है तो फिर और मुश्किल चीजें हैं.
Great, thank you, Navneet ji. That was a very interesting question. But बच्चे लोग अगर आपको ऐसे हवाई जहाज में मौका मिलेगा लैंड करने का मत करना. I am from aviation. My husband is an aviator. Don't do that. That manual reading at the end time is not going to work. Okay. So with this, Rajesh ji, I would really like to thank you very especially for your precious time.
Thank you.
And there are many takeaways, but the primary takeaway is to ideate the structure. And of course, there are many things which we will share with our students as well. We have your PPT with us, and I'm certain that the students have benefited a lot from your personal presence and your sharing. And we are very much encouraged to have many mentors with their mentees here with us today. So thank you very much for your precious time. And we are very grateful to you on behalf of SBA. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajesh ji. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, students.
Rajesh ji.
Thank